Your phone
Yeah,
is
should be
well
good.
placed now.
I
Oh,
think we're
good.
good. I think
Oh,
we're finally good.
yeah, right. Okay, welcome to the channel. I'm Patterson. It's so great having you here, man.
Thanks for
So
having me.
guys, I have with me Andre Patterson of Yunalesca. This is actually a band that I've reacted on before. It's a one-man project, and it's all by this man, Andre Patterson, which is really fascinating. I was able to, put the whole project together. I have him on the channel, and I'm going to ask him some few questions.
Okay.
So let's get right into it. Yeah. So when was Yunalesca formed? Question
Um,
number one.
it started a little bit. I would say the thought of it came into play like late 2019. It was something that I like. I've tossed the idea around of just making music by myself forever now, but it just never really came to fruition until the pandemic. So once the pandemic happened, work kind of slowed down. I was at home the entire time. And so I decided, yo, I'm just gonna start making music. And next thing I know, with all the extra free time and just the uncertainty of everything, I pumped out a bunch of tunes. And I talked to a buddy of mine, Trevor Scott. He's in Hunt the Dinosaur. He's in Bro Job. He's about to go on tour with Eye the Breather. He does all my drums for me, actually. So it's a solo
Um,
project besides the drums. But yeah,
okay.
he's a part of all those projects. And I hit him up and I was like, hey, I have all these guitar parts. I just need some drums. He wrote the drums, and the next thing I know, it was happening. It's like it went from one song I kind of just did on a whim to a whole album within a couple of months, and I was just like, oh, I should
Uh,
probably do something with
okay.
this. It just happened so fast, and I mean, think about it with all the free time being I don't know how it was for you over there, but here they like locked us down. Like if you go to the grocery store, it seemed like the apocalypse was gonna happen. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was crazy.
It
It
happened
was a
here
dark
too, man. It was crazy, yeah. For months,
it was
like,
a
we were just in total lockdown, man. It was really crazy.
yeah, just dark and uncertain times. Kind of just was the catalyst for Unalesca because I honestly feel like if it wasn't for that happening, I don't know that the project would have happened the same way, or if it would even be out by now.
Mhm.
Um, because at that time I was still a part of In Hell Followed With.
Yeah, exactly.
We
Yeah.
and we had just gotten back from a tour as well, and I had no idea what was going to happen. But after a couple months after the pandemic started, and I had all these songs, and with the pandemic happening, I kind of thought about my life and like what I wanted to do, and I kind of just I had a lot of time to think, and I realized that I don't really want to do bands like this. I want to just make music at home and have a lot of fun with just creating music. And I feel like
Mm.
that kind of got lost and put to the wayside because of everything else. So kind of losing everything with the pandemic kind of made me realize what I actually needed from music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I get it, man. That was really perfect. I mean, you had enough free time, just an opportunity for you to, get the project started. And it's so cool, man. It's so really cool. Um, question number two, what's the story behind the name in Alaska?
Pretty basic explanation actually. So Unalesca, I don't know if you game much or play any video games, but Final Fantasy X is my all-time favorite video game. And she's like one of the main like bad characters, so to speak. And like I just always heard the name, and it always sounded really cool to me. And so
Mm.
like I just in terms of like a band name, like they're so hard to pick an original one. And I know a lot of people, like you see Brand of Sacrifice, for example, their names from the manga and the anime Berserk. So for example, I'm like,
Mm.
well, why can't I like just find something that I love and appreciate and kind of pull that as like a influence for the name? So I kind of went through things. The next thing I know, Yunalesca came back. Is like I said, Final Fantasy X is part of my childhood, one of like my favorite games of all time, one of my favorite stories, and the name just came to me from that. It isn't anything too original, but I feel like it's fitting enough. It's kind of like a um, it's pretty ambiguous. Like it doesn't like really. It feels like it can be anything it wants to. Like it doesn't feel like it has to be a metal name, but it can almost fit
Yeah,
anywhere. So
yeah,
I kind of like the
yeah.
idea of how open it felt, but it also was something that directly inspired me like through the
It's
years
already,
through the game
yeah,
that I
exactly.
like. So
Exactly, exactly. I think speaking about Yunalesca, I think I saw a name somewhere on Google, but I don't know. But now you just explain it all. I say it's from a game.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was from a movie or something, but it's okay. And
Hey, it's definitely not my original name, so I'll just
of
all
course, I know,
I'm,
I
I'm
know,
I'm not that creative, not that creative.
I know. It's all good, man. It's all good, man. All right, question number three. When did you start singing music?
Um, I think it would go back to like 2008 or 2009. So I grew up listening to a lot of music because of my dad. My dad is he played music when he was young, like in the 80s. He played in like I guess it'd be like a classic rock hair metal band, like very like
Yeah.
80s. Like he was really big into like Led Zeppelin,
Mm,
Motley Crue, things like that. Just any of the stuff that you think of from like the 60s, 70s to 80s. Like he kind of got me on when I was younger, and in turn, that over the years got me into my own stuff. Like around 2005, I think I found my first metal album, which was either it was a Pantera album or it was Chimera's album, The Impossibility of Reason, and my interest started then, but I don't think I actually started doing any like singing or metal vocals until about 2008 or 2009. And it's actually funny how it started. I literally had a friend in eighth grade or ninth grade, so like right before high school or right at high school, and he's like, "Hey, I'm starting a band. Can you sing? Do you do vocals?" And I'm like, "No, but I'll try." Like, it's like obviously like they knew that I appreciated the same kind of music, but I never had done it before. So I literally got into
yeah,
it just like I got into all of it just because I had some friends ask me to like give it a shot, and it's like, oh, this is all we need. We need someone to do it, and it's just like, well, I never considered it, and then I did, and then I had fun with it. So next thing I know, like 12 years later almost, or however long, it's just like, okay, this is fun. It's still fun. Cool, awesome. So
yeah, it's
it's
so
it's, it's
fun, man.
kind of funny how just a total whim, it kind of set me on the path that I am today.
That's really beautiful. That's a beautiful story, man. Really cool. So question number four. What taught you how to play guitar? Because I've seen you play guitar a lot, and you are one hell of an exceptional,
Thank you.
guitarist. So who taught you how to play?
When did I start playing? Or yeah, so I would say it's around the same time. In fact, like me playing guitar came right before me doing vocals. I've actually played guitar longer than I've done the vocal stuff, which a lot of people don't know about. And it's kind of the same thing. My dad,
Sorry to cut you. Funny enough, I know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know, I know, I know. I know. I can see how good you are, man, with the guitar. I know.
Thank you, man. Thank,
For someone
thank
to
you.
be, for someone to be this good, they
Yeah.
definitely must have been playing this for a longer period of time. And I knew the time, you started this Yunalesca project, so just logic.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
man. No, I
Go ahead, man.
appreciate
Go
that.
ahead.
Uh, but yeah,
Yep.
no, my dad. It's actually funny. So like, me and my dad are a lot the same because he played guitar primarily, but sung in bands. He did singing in bands. He was the front man. I played guitar and then was asked to
Okay.
sing for a band. So it's just kind of funny where it's just like we sought out to do one thing and then we're asked to do another thing and then there we are. So it's actually kind of funny. So me playing guitar now is kind of like me coming full circle from back then. It's like, oh, I finally got to do what I wanted to the entire time. I just
Yeah.
had to go through like a decade of doing vocals for all this. But yeah, no, I've been playing for a while. It just kind of took the back seat because of vocals. But in the last couple years, I've really like brought it to the forefront, and I play a couple hours every week, and it's just fun, man. It's fun playing guitar.
Nice, nice. Do you have a guitar close by? Can you just, give us a little
Hmm.
freestyle or something?
Yep,
That'd be cool.
yep.
Cool. Just do some few seconds, freestyle or something with your guitar.
Oh, you want me to grab the guitar?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So
Is it close to
I
you?
don't e- I don't even know, man. Um,
Just,
so
good.
here we go though. This is the one that you've
All
probably
right.
seen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've seen this a
It's like
lot.
there you go. I played it. That's that's all you get. That's all you get. You can't put me on the spot like that. I don't know what to play. You're getting a bat.
Oh, and that's so cool, man. I love watching you play, you know.
Hey, you got to hear me play. I played the guitar.
Sorry, man. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
No, of course, of course.
It's so fucking hilarious. Anyways, yeah. Very beautiful, man.
Oh,
Uh,
God.
okay, man. We move on to the next question.
Yeah.
I know being a solo artist can be challenging. How were you able to overcome the challenge? And how's the response been? Especially with releasing a new album, the amalgamation of human apathy.
So yeah, that was tough because everything about putting that album together was a learning experience because I had never because I'm sure you kind of know how like recording works nowadays. Like you can record at your computer. Everything I do is here at home, like right where I'm sitting. Um, but I had to learn how to do a lot. So basically, I thankfully had a producer friend, Anthony DiGiacomo. He does all my mixing and mastering for me. He kind of taught me like what I needed and what I needed to do to like record properly. So it honestly, the whole process was this humongous learning curve for me because I had never recorded guitars before. I all of it was something I hadn't really done before. I had like so basically to give you some perspective, the extent of my guitar writing was I would just open up Audacity, which is like a free, really cheap program, and I would just record riffs and then copy and paste and move them together until the composition
Mhm.
was there. And that's all I would ever have. So I never actually got things to a finished state until Yunalesca happened. So I had to learn
Mm.
all about the programs and learn how to like record the guitars tight, and then I had to learn how to program bass. I don't know a bass, but you can program bass now, which is pretty crazy. Um,
Wow.
and then
Wow.
as I mentioned, Trevor programs all the drums, so I would write the guitar, only guitar, send him that. He'd send me back the drums, and I'd re-record the guitar, then put the bass on, then do the vocals, and I basically had to learn all of the recording process for that stuff because I've always recorded myself vocals, like I've always like I would say probably everything you've heard me on, I've recorded either here or just wherever I'm living. So I've always known how to do that, but like learning how to record guitars and making sure they're nice and tight and all that stuff, it was a learning curve. So honestly, that was a big challenge of it is just having to learn how to do that. Um,
Mm.
other than
Mm.
that, like in terms of being a solo artist, promoting it, the money for it, like people don't realize so
Mm.
much money goes into this stuff. And
Yeah,
and like
I
for
know.
example, for the amalgamation of human apathy, that was like my first big release in terms of myself. Like I've done bands where I've had like a decent sized release, or it was put together with like a whole ad campaign and all the videos and stuff. But like I hadn't done that by myself. So I had to figure out like the whole project probably cost almost like $3,000 to do. So by myself, that's a lot of freaking money. And then learning how to do
Mm.
all this by myself because Trevor, I paid him to do drums. Like we have like a partnership where we work that out. But so it's like so technically I pay for everything. Like I don't have anyone else to
Mm.
rely on. Whereas like a band can kind of break down the cost of everything by
Break
between
down the
four,
cost,
five,
I
six
get it.
people.
Exactly,
So
man.
it makes it a
Mm.
little bit tricky monetarily. And then of course, so there's that aspect, and then the aspect that of I just had to learn how to do everything, which is definitely a daunting task. But now that I know how to do it, it's a skill that I'll have forever, and I'll be able to make more and more music with ease. But yeah, no, it was tough at first, man, for sure. There's a lot of obstacles to get to that point.
I can imagine, man. It's really daunting, especially raising money to release an album. Even getting a single out there costs a
It's
lot, man.
it's a lot, man.
It's a lot, man. I can imagine. I'm trying to get an album, man, and the only delay is money. So
Yeah.
I just hope I'll be able to make that happen by next year. I'm optimistic. So this is something that I can relate to because I'm an aspiring musician to solo projects. I think I
Yeah.
sent you a single of
You
mine
did.
some time ago.
You did.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see because whenever I first like met you on online and everything, like obviously you're a connoisseur of music, you love listening to music, but I didn't know that you wanted to create the music either. So like seeing you do that, I thought was really neat. And that's the thing, it's like literally anyone anywhere can make music nowadays. And like that's the best thing to me. It's so cool that like anyone can pick up and just make it happen. So it's like I was excited to see that, man. Legit.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you, man. You're really doing a great job, man. I really admire your drive. It's awesome. Yeah. So we'll
Thanks.
move on to the next question, question number 7. Yeah, you're welcome, man. How have you been able to create a balance between your personal life and your musical career?
Um, it's become easier lately, but I know for a while, for the longest time, in the last band I was in Hell Followed with, that was that in the pandemic. I think I kind of mentioned earlier, kind of really molded where I am with it now. But for the longest time, music was my personal life. So it's like that's all I did. It was me 24/7, 365, just music, music, music. And that's the thing though, is that I've had to reel that back because I'm sure you know with social media and how that works, it kind of
Yeah,
creates
yeah.
this odd worldview that's not realistic. And then that on top of chasing music,
Mm,
it kind of get a little toxic and be a little just draining on you mentally. So there is a balance that you have to create, and that's kind of what I realized with the pandemic and like starting Yunalesca, and that's why I left and Hell Followed with is because I didn't want music to be as much of a career or this grind or just I didn't want it to be this thing where it's like I'm not making music to make music. I'm making music to make it somewhere, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to reel it back, and I wanted to be like, well, the whole reason why I picked up a guitar is because I want to write sick riffs. I don't want to like get big. I just want to write sick riffs. So why am I worrying about that when? Anyways, point in case is I just like it's hard to balance, and especially when your goals change and you get older and stuff, like I'm in the mindset where I'm like, I
mm,
might have a kid in a couple of years, or I might be doing this. And it's just like,
mm,
I think it's just a matter of listening to your heart and figuring out what it is that you need, not like what you need to look cool in people or whatever the case
mm,
may be. But no, I balance it pretty well. Nowadays, I would say I've become more of a hobbyist with my music. It's more of a for fun thing because that's the whole thing. If I don't make it for fun, I'm not going to enjoy it. And if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to actually be
absolutely.
creative.
Absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's tough, but it took me a long time to find that balance and what works for me. But truth is that balance could be so different from everyone because some people thrive like being on the road all the time and doing all that stuff. But between my couple experiences touring and then just really getting into like creating music again, like it was really easy to kind of figure out where to put it. And now it's like I go to work, I do all that, I see my friends, I play some video games, and then sometimes I make music and I have fun with it. So, I mean, that's all that matters. As long as you're having fun and as long as it's not like
Yeah, yeah,
taking on the rest of your day, you know, like it has to
yeah.
balance is important.
Answer important. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. And question number 8. One time I saw you posted on Facebook that you were working on new stuff,
Yep.
which kind of like, yeah, which kind of like, aroused my curiosity. And I want to ask this. Are you working on an album or is it a single? And are you maintaining the same style and sound, or is there something new you're, planning to infuse into the new project you're working on?
Um. So, truth be told, I actually have um. There's probably like 15 other Unalesca songs that exist. I basically when I finished the album, I just kept writing, and I'm still writing. But
Of course.
at this point, what I've been posting about is a 4-track EP. So there's 4 more songs coming out.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be like February or March. I'm not really sure, but I've already got Trevor working on another album. So he's writing, he's doing the drums for I think it's a 9-track album. So I'll have the 4-track EP coming out early next year, and then it's probably gonna be an album either late next year, maybe 2023. Of course, it comes down to money and time. Those are like the hardest things to come
Yeah,
across
right.
nowadays.
Mhm.
But it's definitely kind of in the pipeline. Regarding the sound, it's hard to say because it really depends on what you consider the original sound. Because in my opinion, the amalgamation of Human Apathy, like there's sprinkles of everything, right? There's like some super deathcore moments, there's super metalcore moments, there's
Yeah,
stuff in
yeah, that's true.
between.
I agree.
It kind of
I
it kind
agree.
of does its own
And
thing, and like
those breakdowns, man. those breakdowns. I promise me you're not taking it away. Cause
Yeah.
good. Go
On
ahead,
on
man.
the like, for example, on this EP, it's kind of funny. So there's like one song that like people have basically called like melodic death metal, and there's another song that someone said is like just too poppy. So it's like actually like super heavy shit, super poppy shit. I can tell you all of it grooves though. It's all riffy, it's all groovy. I think it's my best material yet. I would say the EP because here's the deal. This is kind of weird, but like the EP that's going to be coming out soon, I wrote the most recently. That second album I was talking about, I wrote right after the first one. So it's like I can tell you like yeah, the EP is going to sound a little bit different. I think the EP is probably like where I'm going to be going with my sound in the future. But the second album is going to be kind of more of a callback to the first one in a way. I can tell you
Okay,
that
all
that
right.
one that second album is going to be a concept album, which is why it's going to take a little bit longer too just because there's some themes and things of that nature that I want to kind of dive into with it. So it's kind of another reason why I wrote more material ahead of it. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm kind of going out of order with how I wrote everything, but it's because that project I feel deserves a lot more time and it's going to be a lot bigger of a deal once it is finished. But to answer your question in a shorter, simpler, sweeter way, it's going to be this more of the same, but more different. But I feel like that's kind of like the magic of a solo project is that it can be whatever I want it to. And
Yeah,
as long
absolutely.
as I'm creating music and I'm having fun with it and whatever it sounds like, man, that's just it's my way of expressing myself at the end of the day. So that's kind of like where
Mhm.
I'm going with it. Like as long as it's continuing to be self-expression, it can be whatever it wants.
Yeah, that's what matters, man. That's what matters. And besides, you cannot satisfy everybody. That's the truth. There's still some
True.
people who will still shit on your music, even if you pour all of your heart and all of your blood and sweat in it. So just understanding that you cannot satisfy everybody, and also
Exactly.
help overwork yourself or overpressure yourself just to try to bring the best out of
I
your
think
music and all of that.
the one thing people overlook all the time is they don't satisfy them. They try to satisfy everyone around them, but not
Everyone,
them.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly. The
And that's
music
another
is not
reason why
supposed to
like
be like that.
I think you know a friend of mine, Brett Jones, Dethicles.
Oh, of
Like
course.
that right there, he is one of the most prime examples of someone that is in his own lane doing what he wants to. Like no one else sounds
Yeah,
like him. So it's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Like I want to see more of people really coming into their own and whatever that is. So for example, him combining like the metalcore and the rap is like it's been done before, but not the way he's done it. He's done it in a whole new way.
Yeah,
So
and I like
it,
it. I think I reacted on one of the songs some time back. I don't remember the name. Frozen. Yeah,
yeah,
Frozen.
Frozen Eyes. Yeah, that was the first single. And yeah, he's got a lot more coming out. I think you already know this. I do all the guitars for him. I
I
write
know. I know.
I write and record the guitars,
I think
and
about you on the video. On the video. I know
there's some
about it.
cool. He has such cool stuff coming, man. I'm really excited for him. That album should start releasing next year, so definitely keep an eye out for that.
Sure, definitely. All right, two more questions to go on around us. Question number 9. What plans do you have for Yunalesca in the near future?
Um, honestly, man, I've probably kind of said this already, but it's just write more, continue to have fun with it, see where I go in my own musical maturity, because I'm writing cool stuff I think now, but like who knows what I'll be writing in like 5 years from now, maybe even 3 years from now.
Uh,
And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to is just seeing how I can evolve my sound further. I don't have any like honestly, Unalesca. I don't think it's gonna play shows ever. I don't think I'm gonna like try to do anything like that with it. It all kind of comes down to just me wanting to have fun and just making more music. So if anything, what plans I have, it's going to be a lot more music. That's that's what I got, man. Just more music for people to check out, and just me
uh,
trying to further investigate what I can do.
all right. And just to talk about the shows, but do not rule that off yet, man. Who knows? You might have a band someday in the future. Like there could be more people interested in your project, and you just come
It's true,
together as a
yeah. I
band.
mean,
You still have the
you
name,
never know.
You never know, man. You still could play shows in the future, so don't rule that off, man.
Exactly. I mean, I'll put it that way. Then I won't count it out. It's just not a plan. It could happen. I
Uh,
don't know yet. Maybe. You never know.
maybe. Who knows, man? All right. Last question for today. Lastly, what are your favorite bands and how have they influenced you?
Okay. So I've see. I'm gonna go off whatever comes to me first, and I'm just gonna throw it out there, and I'll kind of try to give you a reason why. So the first band that comes to mind for me is Periphery, and I think it's because, like, for example, in high school, I was all about Metallica and like thrash bands and stuff like that. But Periphery was the first band that kind of showed me what you could really do on a guitar. And if I were to say like what my favorite metal genre was, it'd probably be like the gent style. I just love like that low tune, syncopated, groovy, super riffy stuff. And I feel like they kind of really opened the world of gent and like created that genre in a way. And I feel like that in a way, I feel like gent has a heavy inspiration in Yunalesca stuff. Like there's just a lot of it sprinkled in there, and I kind of feel like without Periphery, that wouldn't exist. The next one that comes to mind would be Mastodon. Mastodon's probably one of my all-time favorite bands. Their album from 2009, "Crack the Sky," is probably my favorite album of all time. There's just something about the atmosphere, like the psychedelic nature of it, and the way that they structure their songs and their use of chords and things of that nature, like, has really like brought me out into this mindset of like, how can I progress my songs better, and how can I like add to the background or the atmosphere to make my songs better. And plus, Mastodon's just a powerhouse in terms of the kind of the difference in music they've made all over the years. So, third one, I guess I'd be like Agent Fresco. So they're I don't even know what I'd call them. I don't want to call them like alt rock because they're not, but like they're an interesting band. They're from Iceland, and they haven't really directly influenced my music like your question states, but I think in terms of like emotionally and things like that, like the emotion that they convey in their music, like has inspired me somehow because of just how powerful that the music is that it speaks to me. On their album Destry released. So yeah, Agent Fresco, it'll be another important band on my end. Another one, Fit for an Autopsy, probably. Just because
Oh, it's fantastic. Nice
I
band.
feel
I
like
love that band.
they find that blend of brutal and melodic and just meet it
Melodic,
right
yeah,
in the
no,
middle.
exactly that. I
And
agree.
it's just
I
so
agree.
perfect because their songs are so dynamic, and I think with I, it's kind of sad to me because people for some reason consider them a generic band because they're melodic and have someone that kind of adds singing or like melodic screams, and it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like people don't appreciate that band enough. That band is powerful. Like every single aspect of them is like, I would say like either Fit for an Autopsy or Chokron are probably like the perfect metal band to me because of the way they balance that heavy and that melody so well. Um, I would say last band, the Deer Hunter, which is like a theatrical, progressive, kind of alt rock band. It's hard to explain, but that band, I don't really know how to sum them up other than being magical. Casey Crescenzo, the vocalist, the songwriter. As soon as I heard their music and heard his voice and stuff, man, that like really, really pushed me to want to be a better singer. Like actual singing, not streaming. Because honestly, like for the longest time, like I wanted to be a singer more than I have wanted to be like the screaming vocalist, and it's like I'm not gonna like deny like my roots, for example. Like I'm very happy that I went down the path that I did, but like I've always wanted to be like a singer, and the Deer Hunter was the band that like really pushed me to like test out my range and try to figure out like what my voice is. And yeah, just magical band, man. But I think those five bands would probably sum that up for you.
Mm. That's a really interesting choice. Even if I don't know all the bands, at least I think you mentioned a few that I
Hey,
know.
if anything, you have some homework now. You have some bands to
As
check out.
for Fit for an Autopsy, those bands I really love those bands, especially Fit for an Autopsy. Those guys are
Yeah, dude.
awesome.
Awesome band.
And
Awesome band.
I think you're right. I think they're not really appreciated enough. This band is magical, really.
I
I
think the
think the
problem
first
Fifth for an
song.
Autopsy has, I was gonna say, I think a lot of people, the problem that people have with the Fifth for an Autopsy as well is that they kind of just think that it's like less heavy Thyard is murder. So they kind of just like throw it to the side because like, oh, if I wanted this, I just listen to Thyard. And it's just like, well, no, you have both bands. Enjoy both of them. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. People are silly, man.
Oh, that's it, man. That's human. So everybody with a taste, different taste, It is,
Absolutely.
yeah. And that's it. You're just gonna satisfy everybody, no matter how cool your stuff is. Like I said earlier, you just try to keep doing what you love doing, regardless of what people think about your music. Like,
Exactly, man.
just
Always
give
stay
it
in
a
your
thought.
own lane. That's my advice, man. Always stay in your lane and always look out for you because no one else is. So you got to do what you want to do.
Yeah, true, man. Thank you so much, man, for really honoring the invitation to chat with me. I really appreciate it, man.
Of
So
course, of
guys,
course.
yeah. So guys, I'm gonna drop his link in the description below, the social link, and Yunalesca link as well, so you can check out the band and see beautiful stuff that they got, especially the new album, the amalgamation of human apathy. Fucking sick, it's gonna blow your mind. Do yourself a favor, guys, and check out this
Hey,
guy's album.
thanks again for having me, man.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. You have a lovely day, man. Peace.
Dude.
Yeah.